Dance Decoded.
Hey guys, welcome to Dance Decoded Episode 2. We are so excited for this episode given the amazing response from Episode 1, so thank you to everyone who supported and responded. In this episode, we will be focusing on how to prepare for the competition industry in South Africa. I'm Veronique.
And I'm Gabriel, and this is Dance Decoded. Good morning, V. Welcome to Episode 2. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great and super excited for this episode.
Oh my word, me too. The response from Episode 1 has been absolutely incredible.
It really has. It really has. I've been enjoying listening to how people have viewed it and how the information actually ended up helping, which was great to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I can really see people implementing some of the things we spoke about into their kids' training, and it's absolutely amazing to see that change is already happening.
Yeah. No, it really is.
So today we are talking about training, preparing for the competition season. All the things that has to do with the upcoming competition season, whether you are part of a studio or a private individual entry. So the question that everyone always asks is, how competitive is too competitive? When is it too much?
Gosh.
And how do you decide how far you want to take your competition season?
Absolutely. That really is, because so many of these dancers have goals that they set for themselves. And then obviously you also get teachers and parents that are pushing them to do, 12 comps a year, maybe even more. So when is it too much? And are you at the right studio for it?
Look, yes, that's a big thing because you have your more competitive studios and then you have less competitive studios. And I think at the end of the day, it starts with your choice in studio. Are you with a studio that is highly competitive, have big competition teams, and who are competing throughout the year to build a reputation and to chase those high scores or those overalls? And then you have more leisurely studios who maybe compete in one or two smaller competitions during the year just to have that incorporated into their studio, but it's not necessarily their main focus.
Yeah, most of the super competitive studios, they also end up traveling. So if they're based in Gauteng, you'll see them travel to Cape Town and all these places, constantly just trying to see where they place all over South Africa. So it definitely does depend. If your daughter or son wants to be super competitive, do they want to be part of a comp team, which is a massive commitment? I think it's important for parents to understand. So important. If you're going to join a comp team that has a schedule for the year, it is a big commitment. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like not a lot of parents necessarily understand the commitment to the team when they do sign up for these competition teams, specifically at competitive studios like this. From the outside, it seems like something you'd want to do or something you'd want to be a part of, and everyone gravitates towards it. But then a month or 2 or 3 into the year, they come to realize that this is way too much for me as a mom. It's way too much on my wallet, and it's too much on my child. At the end of the day, we're going to touch briefly on stuff like dancer burnout and injury prevention and stuff like that. But that's not the main focus of today's podcast. So, let's take it from there.
Yeah, I feel like one of the biggest issues is either when parents do notice that it's a massive commitment and it's too much for the wallet, as you said, half of them tend to then just go for solos, which is so sad because group work is so imperative in the competition arena for your daughter or son's growth. You got to have them part of groups. You got to be committed to that group. I feel like solos, it's great for competition, especially if you have these personal goals that you want to hit, but those groups is what shapes your competitive dancer.
I mean, it's kind of stupid to say, but it doesn't make sense to be in a competition team if you're just there for yourself or solos. Then your main focus should not be a competition team. It should be getting yourself a private teacher, a private choreographer to train you in solos, because competition teams are mainly there for the team aspect. The big groups, the trios, the duets, not necessarily the solos, although that's a big factor for most dancers. Everyone is chasing the solos. So obviously
Those
the competition
overalls,
team
yeah.
directors, they oblige and they do solos as well. But I can guarantee you there's no competition team director out there that's main goal is solos.
Yeah, absolutely. Like groups are some of the best memories I have when I was a young dancer. Like it
me
teaches
too.
you so much, so much. It was the best, like traveling with your team somewhere instead of constantly doing it by yourself, you know. I almost feel like it becomes like this repetitive cycle where the dancers don't even get nervous anymore when they go on stage.
Yep.
Which is
true.
Great, but also not great, you know?
Yeah, no, you want those nerves to assist you in performance.
Yeah. You don't want to get too comfortable.
So how many hours a week is enough for competition? What is too little? What is too much? What causes burnout?
Yeah.
How should we train at the beginning of a competition year? New year has started now. Everyone is completing their teams, finalizing teams, and soon we will be starting with training and choreography. So what is, according to you, V, what is the correct amount of training, or what should we do in preparation for competitions?
Yeah, so I definitely, look, most teachers do their actual comp items over the weekend, right? So Friday or Saturday. So that is a must, obviously. And technique-wise, you should be doing 3 to 4 classes a week, especially conditioning and stretching. I know some teachers add that to their like Saturday sessions. These sessions are so important. You can't just be going, you know what, I'm going to commit to one technique a week and then I'm going to do comp team on the weekends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We briefly spoke about this in our first episode, and like we said, you get your competition teams who strictly work on choreography, but at the end of the day, I feel like you have so much more to gain by almost assisting your choreography classes by doing the technical classes that choreography requires, that skill level that the choreography requires. So although we do learn by choreography, sometimes taking the technique classes separately, working on the flexibility and the strengths separately, can definitely enhance not only your choreography end game, but also the way you learn and train your choreography might be much easier when your body is used to the technique, the strength, and the flexibility that the choreography requires.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day what's going to win you your overall awards, is if it's that full package on stage.
So that is why in the previous episode we did mention that we feel like when you are planning on competing in contemporary lyrical jazz and other styles, it's very important that you not only take that technical class, add that ballet to your weekly training, but also take some form of dance conditioning and flexibility class. I'm not saying go take an acro class if you're not already an acrobat or not already taking acro. This should be a strengthening and flexibility class that supplements not just your choreography, but also your acro elements. It should not be just acro for flex training. It should not necessarily just be ballet for technique training. Open technique classes are just as amazing. There's 1,000 ways to teach technique and only 1 or 2 of them are ballet.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It's also very important for dancers to gain knowledge on how to stretch their bodies and how to condition their bodies, because your teacher can't focus solely on you 24/7. Those classes will give you the knowledge you need to do it at home as well and keep upping your level as a dancer.
Also, every dancer's body is slightly different. We all vary.
Different.
And the stretchers who are perfect for dancer number 1 may not do the job for dancer number 2. So it's important within these classes to have an open conversation with your teacher in regards to, I'm doing this stretch, but I'm not feeling it where I'm supposed to feel it. And your teacher can adjust your stretch to make sure it hits the spot for your body type.
Yes. It's so important you get to know your instrument. You have to. Your body is your instrument. You got to get to know its weak points and its strengths and how to work around it. So what classes should your dancer be taking in a competitive sense? Obviously, this goes back to just figuring out what styles you're looking for. If you're going for those 3 styles that link together, which is your jazz, lyrical, and contemporary. Again, take your ballet, as we said in episode 1. Biggest thing, mommies, that you need to understand from a teacher's standpoint as well is if you are skipping these classes, especially the choreography classes, if you are skipping these classes, it's diminishing the entire team's, goal of what they can possibly accomplish. I think it's almost rare to see, I've seen so many studios struggle with this. It's almost rare to see a Saturday choreography class where you're trying to put this group, duo, trio, whatever you may call it, together, and there's always someone missing. And parents don't understand how much that affects the overall progress of the team and the unit. Same with solo classes.
Oh, yes. And I'd like to take the conversation back to the amount of commitment you are willing to give. At the end of the day, remember, a team is only as strong as its weakest member. You can do as much as you want to hide a weak team member. Sorry to say that, but it's something that's important in a group setting. And although we're all different, we all have different ability levels and so forth, you need to understand that if you commit to that team, you need to commit to uphold a certain standard. And mommies, that is your training, your preparation for competition season, is deciding how competitive do I want my dancer to be? How much commitment can I give to this team? How much am I willing to give? How far am I willing to walk with this teacher? Because that's very important. It's very bad juju to pull yourself from competition team in the middle of a season after your teacher have choreographed formations and all sorts of interesting things. And remember, mommies and dancers, that when a teacher choreographs, the first thing they do is they decide on the amount of people in the group. You choreograph differently for an even or an uneven number. You choreograph differently for 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids. The amount of dancers in your group determines how your choreography will be. So withdrawing a dancer from competition team in the middle of a season absolutely affects every other dancer in that group as well as that choreographer teacher.
That's so true. That is so true. The formations, everything. It's, if you have lifts in your group, for example, it's so difficult when someone pulls out.
We've all been in that situation where we had to reblock a routine a week before nationals because Chloe decided to rather go to a birthday party. These things happen. But you as the mother need to make the commitment to this team. Remember, we're talking about kids here. They don't have adult sense of commitment. So it is your job as the mommy to instill that work ethic. The teacher can only do as much. But if you don't enforce the kids to push and they can just quit whenever things get difficult, what type of dancers are we sending into the professional industry?
It is a full-on commitment, and I do think people tend to see it as, oh, she's competing, she's getting a medal, but they have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. And honestly, if the mommies and teachers can work as a team and a unit, you will see the results you are wanting to see.
So, Vi, I'd like to pivot the conversation to something I know touches you.
Yes.
So, should dancers be competing the same items year after year after year? Same solos, same dancers, same style. And we've seen this specific routine for the last 3 years at every competition we've been through. How do you feel about that? Give us your opinion.
Oh, it irks me.
I knew you were going to say that.
It just gets under my skin. I cannot stand it. So here's the thing, right? There's obviously a line as well. So I know there's a lot of comps that take place at the start of the year, like Feb and March. And so putting things together by then is difficult. So fair enough if you take your items from last year and compete there and then start with new items. But the reason why it just gets under my skin, if you're doing the same item over and over again each year, and just granted, I'm not talking about like repertoires from ballet. Those are set choreographic pieces. It's so different. I'm talking about, like contemporary lyrical jazz and hip hop, for example, even acro. If your dancers are doing the same thing over,
acro.
Oh gosh, and if your dancers are doing the same thing over and over again, that are they going to come for me? That is questioning you as a teacher, because is their technique getting better? Why are they not doing new steps?
It's not
Why are they
even
not
that.
doing a new... Yeah.
I can tell you what the problem is. The teacher is not bringing in choreographers to choreograph a competition solo. She's doing it all herself. So she's choreographing maybe 40 solos per season.
Yeah. And that's, you know what,
choreographer burnout is a real thing. And at the end of the day, I know studios who keep solos for 2 or 3 years, specifically for that reason. They have too large a competition team. They're doing all the work themselves, which also touches on letting other teachers teach your kids, which we spoke of in the previous episode.
First episode,
but, yeah.
But here's my thing, like, man, I can understand that. I get it. I get it if you maybe pass solos down and all those wonderful things. Don't charge the same price, please, because you're not giving the kid anything new. You're not upping their game as well. Again, this is fine line between a dancer that truly needs to still grow in their solo. I get it. Maybe change a step or two that's constantly pushing them to become better. But my personal opinion, you should not be competing these same solos, especially groups. Oh, goodness. I have seen groups compete for 4 years with the same group.
Yes.
Same choreography, nothing changed, just to a T exactly that. And I don't know why, but it irks me.
No, absolutely. I want to touch on what you said about charging the same prices, and I can say this from a teacher's point of view. I have never charged my students for a step of choreography apart from their regular tuition. I've never charged my competition team extra for anything, not choreography, not extra technique classes, nothing, not extra Saturday classes, not extra booty camp classes.
What?
So I know that some of the bigger studios, especially in the smaller parts of the country, they do the same. And the reason for that is that they also know that, and we're going to talk about this later, competing and being seen at competitions is networking opportunities. It is for teachers, and it's absolutely a situation of, if my team does good at competitions, it looks good for my reputation, and thus I will get more students, new students.
Yeah. That is true. That is very true.
So that's why a lot of teachers don't charge for extra choreography. They take it upon themselves because they're trying to make themselves and their studio look good.
Yes. Yeah, I see. My issue comes in when it's the same solo for 3 years, charging 300 Rand an hour each time, and the choreo hasn't changed. Like, what are you doing at that point?
I want to tell you about an experience with this. So back way back when, years and years and years ago, I had my own competition, but we were relatively new. It was our first or second year, and I was working for another competition. And I remember standing backstage, and there was a boy on stage doing an amazing routine, and oh my gosh, it was perfection. We were all standing there like, what? And there was a girl standing next to me, and she was like, yeah, I would look like that as well if I've been doing the same solo for 3 effing years. And I was like, yeah, I'd be good too if I've been performing the same solo for 3 years. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Yes, because the dancer becomes so comfortable to a point that they're not learning anything.
No, and
what
that routine
learning?
becomes such good muscle memory. And another thing is that I've found with competitors competing the same routine over and over and over again is some of the intricate parts of the choreography gets lost in time.
Yeah. No,
it absolutely does. I don't want to say it gets messy, but some of the intricate parts, the stuff that intrigues a judge, that pulls you in, small little details, get lost in time.
That
and then
is
the routine,
so true, but
it looks the same, but it doesn't have the wow anymore, because everything that made it so freaking spectacular has been lost.
Has been filtered out. And another thing,
and by the way, I just want to say for everyone listening out there, it's usually not the side aerial or the Elsa Cone turns that's the spectacular moment a judge goes for. It's usually the small things, a look, a placement of the hand, a certain elevation of the head. Those little things make us as judges squirm in anticipation, not the bloody side aerial.
No, and that's another thing. When judges do see the same group constantly on stage that they saw 50 million times, kind of gets old. Like, we get it.
Yes. As a judge, if you're sitting at a judging table, and I know this for a fact, if you're sitting at a judging table and a routine comes on which you already know, you're already less interested in that routine because you know it, you know where it's going. There's nothing to look forward to. There's nothing to anticipate because you know how that routine is going to function. And the more you see it, just the less impressive it gets.
It really does, because you do, as a judge, kind of remember the dancers' faces, right? So when they step on stage and you're like, oh, they did a brilliant routine last year. I can't wait to see what they're going to do right now. And then the same music comes on and you're like, oh,
same
man.
thing. I've seen this before.
Yeah.
So on that note of choreography, I want to get your opinion on choreography poaching.
Oh, gosh.
You get those lurker teachers. They lurk at the back of competition venues recording other people's dances, and then 3 weeks later you see your exact dance come on stage with a similar costume, exact same music edit, everything. How are we supposed to take that as judges, as competition directors, and as fellow teachers? How are we supposed to take that? Because I know this is a huge thing in the industry at the moment.
It's really, like, I've had choreography stolen and it freaking broke my heart, because first off, as a choreographer and the teacher, you know the amount of effort and time you put into that routine just for someone to record it and take it. And you're just standing there like, what? Your mind is blown. But this is where the competition needs to be protecting the teachers from plagiarism. But I also feel like it's such a fine line, because if they just simply change something like a few steps, technically it's not the same choreography anymore in the technical
Here's what
sense.
I feel. I feel like if there's a discrepancy at an event where the teacher is coming to a director saying, listen, this other group is doing my exact choreography, there should be a procedure in place where the teacher that has the issue can submit evidence to a board, and they review the routine on stage and the routine in evidence, and if it's 70% or more alike, Studio B will be disqualified, or the routine will not be scored. Or I don't think it should be one person's job. I do think there should be a conversation about it. People should view this and decide, listen, is this the same or is it not? It should be by jury, because once again, dance is objective.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, you know what it is? It's fine drawing inspiration from someone. I think that's brilliant, because we're all here to inspire each other and how we grow and things like that. But to steal choreography to a T is absolutely ridiculous. And there should be some form of, like you said, just some form of system in place if that happens, so that it can be viewed and dealt with accordingly.
In our next episode, we'll be going deeper into our personal experiences into the competition scene and how toxic the industry can be. We'll definitely come with some experiences and interesting things to talk about. So there's something going on in our country that I think we definitely need to address, and that is how choreography is out of style in competitions. As judges, how do we find these dancers? What are we supposed to make of them? And what do we do about the mixture of styles? And on a different note, the mixture of acro into every single style, including hip-hop lately.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so true. Look, teachers, I know when you have a student that can do all the aerials, do all the things, like you're seeing it as an absolute way to be super competitive with their choreography so that they have the best chance. Like half the time the teachers are just really trying to give the dancers the best chance that they have. However, you cannot be putting in tricks every 5 seconds into a jazz routine, for example. My personal opinion and advice here would be stick to the styles as they are as much as possible. So if you're choreographing contemporary, choreograph contemporary. Don't try to do like a jazzy kind of contemporary. We are looking as judges for that specific style each time.
I mean, V, there's a specific place for everything. I mean, you're more than welcome to choreograph these amazing fusion, and there's a place for them in the open category. That is what the open category in dance competitions is for. It's not supposed to be a place where you slapdash your third contemporary routine because you can only enter 2 contemps in the contempt section. That's not what it's for. The open section is for experimentation. Like, fusions and interesting things. I once saw an open routine where the girl was wearing one point shoe and one tap shoe, and it was weird and freaking wonderful.
Wow, that's interesting. Actually, I don't think I've seen that before. But that's what open category is for. Open category is for, like, express yourself as crazy as you would like to. Go nuts. I've seen a teacher choreograph a tap and hip hop routine combined and put it under the tap section. So that, for example, should have gone under open. Right? That's why the open 100%. Section is there. But in my personal opinion, if you are entering in a jazz solo, do jazz. Do jazz. That is what we are looking for, because that's literally what the style says. None of this lyrical jazz where they just put two words together and think it'll fall into that category. Half the time it does not, and we're actually just completely confused on how to judge what we just saw.
And I'd like to go into the why. Why don't we want to see fusions in a style? Why? And that's because when we are judging a specific style, there's certain regulations to that style, if I can call it that. There's certain techniques specific to that style, certain things you're looking for within that style. But if you are doing a fusion, what you are doing is you are contorting the base technique. So if you enter a fusion into a regular style, you are going to get a much worse technical score, because a fusion contorts the base technique, if that makes sense.
I've literally heard a choreographer say to another choreographer who was learning how to choreograph into the competition industry, right? Say to that choreographer, don't stress about jazz solos. As long as you have two jazz elements, they'll mark it as jazz. Like, what?
Oh, my word. And that's why our jazz judges are sitting at judging tables shaking their heads, and now we wonder why our jazz do so much worse. But also at the same side of the coin, you also get your adjudicators who have no knowledge of real jazz. Little girl hip hop is not jazz.
Absolutely. Also, musical theater is not jazz. It's not. Don't pop that in the jazz section.
Oh my word, I can't wait to bring this up to our upcoming interview guest. But
I'm so excited.
How do you feel about fortes in jazz?
This is such a touchy subject.
It is. It really, it's like, oh man. Oh gosh. Okay, personally, I wouldn't put fouettes as a choreographer. I'd maybe put like 2 fouettes into a jazz turn, but I wouldn't be standing there with 10 fouettes looking like a ballerina in the jazz section. So that's why I agree it's such a touchy subject. I would much rather focus on jazz specific turns and hit a triple in that instead of doing fouettes.
Yeah. No, we've been having this age-old debate about ballet turn sequences in jazz, and I think this conversation was started by Mark Tadford, and since then it's just been a craziness. All of the teachers put their 2 cents in regard to this fortes in jazz.
Yes,
it's like an internal joke.
I definitely wouldn't, but it is quite a debate. I'm not gonna lie, it's quite a debate.
So I don't know if you know this, but when I had my initial meeting with Abby Lee Miller to work with us, we had such an incredible conversation about dance in general and how competitions how competitions differ between America and South Africa and things like that. We just had the most amazing conversation. And she mentioned something that has stuck with me, because to us it's unfathomable, but it makes so much sense. So her theory is that contemporary is a type of jazz, and here's why. Both styles incorporate flexed feet, broken lines, turns, jumps, isolations.
Okay, yeah, look, if you put it down like that, I can see it.
If you think about the compilation of jazz and what makes a jazz routine, then she's absolutely correct.
Technique-wise, yes, I can see it. Artistically, not at all. But technique-wise, I'm with you.
But I have to be honest with you. In Pinto Ferreira's Jazz Ed syllabus, we learn about so many versions of jazz, to be honest with you. Yes. We have actual lyrical jazz combos. We have Latin jazz combos. We have street jazz combos. It's incredible to see how the bass jazz technique is applied to different styling versions of it.
Yes, you get that smooth, soft jazz, you know? You do.
Absolutely,
it's beautiful.
There's a space for stuff like that in the competition scene, just not in the jazz section.
Yes.
But I can also be honest with you. As a choreographer, what I've done in the past is I have created jazz pieces that has like a Spanish feel or has like a tango feel with the whole tango thing, and I still entered it in jazz, and because the technique was clean jazz, it still did very well. But
and there's a difference
between there's a difference between fusing two styles together and using one style as an inspiration for the other style, but keeping the technique clean. You can style anything any way you want and still keep the bass technique clean.
Here's another debate that I've heard about, and I'm curious to know your opinion. A lot of let me not name names. Okay, so I have heard discussions of it also depends on how the dancer performs the style. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you have dancers that are used to changing stylistically, and you have dancers who are not used to it. That's just a skill. It's like the ability to learn choreography fast. The ability to adapt stylistically is a skill that needs to be trained. That's why, do you remember the old, I don't know how it is now, but the old AIDT syllabus, very modern, also had the same. There was like a Spanish flair and there was like a street style, and you had to do the same dance in 3 different stylings, like a Bollywood styling and a street styling and a jazz styling. Same dance styled 3 different ways. That's what I'm talking about. And I feel like that's a skill dancers don't have anymore. They don't have the ability to adapt like a chameleon to stylistic choices without it compromising their technique.
Yeah, and this takes me to like what it is we are looking for as judges, because if you're doing, let's stick with the jazz, if you're doing a jazz routine and the technique is choreographed, like the choreography is done beautifully to what it should be, but the dancer itself is kind of showing the same feeling with every solo they're stepping on stage with, that actually does affect the marks. If you're doing a jazz routine, you should become jazz. You should feel it in your soul, and dancers don't do that anymore. It sucks.
Also, every single competition in their scoring structure, there is some point that's being given to stylistic or artistic choices. Whether it's in a styling or in an overall impression, or every competition differs in where they score for it. But you receive scores for your styling of an item 100%. Every single competition.
And what a lot of dancers and mommies, for example, or even teachers don't know, that score, that stylistic score, is sometimes your difference between first and second.
Oh, definitely. I've had a situation where 2 kids received exactly the same score, but the styling on one kid had a 0.3% higher.
Yeah.
And in dance competitions, that 0.3, that 0.2 is sometimes the difference between winning and losing, between first and second, because that is how close it gets with these competitions.
It really is. And I think it's being forgotten that you're not just going on stage to see who can do the best kicks and turns. Like, obviously, that's the athletic side that is very important, but you're still a performer. You are performing a solo, not just doing it for a medal. So I feel like that's being lost almost in young dancers, because maybe they're doing so many items and they're changing so quick backstage. By the time they get on, they haven't even prepped themselves for the next item. And that performance, that style gets lost.
I'm so glad you just said that, because I feel like a big thing we need to address is dancers doing 12 solos on one day at one competition.
Oh, listen.
There's a multitude of things wrong with this.
Yeah.
So give me your 2 cents, please.
Well, you know what? First off, like, well done dancers for doing that physically, because bloody hell, that is exhausting to another level. But I think there's a lot of different points. Firstly, the biggest one for me is you again are losing that reason of why you are an artist. It is because you can perform. I always used to say to dancers, if it was like an emotional piece, you could change someone's thought process in the audience, even if it's one person that you're touching. But that's the point of being a performer. And then the second thing is, if you're doing 50 whatever items, you become tired and the judges score you accordingly. We can see your stamina dropping. Yes, and your marks will reflect that eventually. So rather
and especially if you've seen that specific dancer 10 times already during the day, then by the time you see them on the 11th time, you can absolutely, number one, you've seen everything they can do. Everything they could possibly do, you've seen. Number two, you know that kid intimately by now, so you can immediately see if that kid's stamina drops, if she has an injury, if she's not feeling well, if she's nauseous. We as judges, we can make that out. You think that the audience cannot see that, but that is something you cannot hide, especially if we've seen you 10 times already. If we haven't seen you for the day yet, maybe different story. If something is wrong, we might not be able to pick up on that immediately. But if we've seen you 10 times, absolutely.
Yes, and another thing is, if we are seeing you 10 times with the same technique errors in each solo, it becomes repetitive to us that obviously that technique is not being implemented, which does affect your scoring.
Also, repetitive choreography. I mean, I've seen you do the Elsa Cone combo in your lyrical, why do I have to see you do that 16 count turn again in your jazz? It's not necessary. Switch it out. Do something else. There's no reason for you to do 12 solos if you are going to showcase your 5 most spectacular things in all 12 of your solos. That's not why we are competing in multiple solos.
No,
you're doing that to show your diversity, not to demonstrate the exact same strengths. And that's what you get. If you see a girl do 12 solos, you are definitely seeing repetitive stuff. There's just no way she can fill 12 solos with completely different movement, nothing repetitive. Shows us different spectacularity. It's just not possible. Poor choreographers, though. 12 solos, I mean...
That is so true. But it's so rare that you see a dancer doing 6 solos and every time they step on stage, you're like, whoa, that was gorgeous every single time. We cannot lose the aspect of being a performer. Each solo should be a different performance along with technique.
Also, my issue is not so much if you are competing over the course of a week. Absolutely. But if you are doing a 1-day or a 2-day competition, getting on stage, performing, it's high impact for 3 minutes, off stage, running to the dressing room, getting changed, getting this, getting that back on stage. As a dancer, you are trained to go high impact for maximum 7 minutes and then have your heart rate come down. And then take it up again, maximum 7 minutes, and then come back down. That's how we as dancers are trained. You are not trained to go full out for 7 hours straight. So for injury prevention, I think this is so important. You know how many times as a competition director, I've seen a situation where a dancer is doing a multitude of solos, right? And then I know the schedule. I drew up the schedule, so I know how many items she's doing. And by the halfway through the day, she's just gone. She's not coming back for her last 2 items. Why? Because she got injured. Yeah, absolutely. There is no ways you can perform at that level 100% while doing all these other things and not getting an injury or a possible injury that might grow into something much bigger next week, you know? No, absolutely. Safety needs to be the main concern in dance permanently. We're working with kids who are constantly growing and developing, and their bodies are changing, and safety needs to be at the forefront of every class, of every demonstration, of every competition. You need to take your dancer safety in consideration, which this is something we will in-depthly go into when we do a specific episode regarding toxic studio culture, which will be coming up in an episode or 2. Yes, absolutely. So V, I'd like to stop my tangent on style and choreography and pivot the conversation to something that this is a personal pet peeve of mine, and I know there's a lot of people, including international people, who cannot stand this. And I'm talking about age appropriateness in competitions. in choreography, in music choices, in costume choices.
This is so true. Look, there's so many factors that come to play, because a lot of times you get dancers that are like, I love this song, and then they're like 10 and it's a Billie Eilish song that is just super duper inappropriate, but the parents are pushing for it. The teacher has no choice at the end of the day. The kid gets marked down because nope, this is not for this category at all. So definitely, in the jazz section especially, I've seen a lot of inappropriate costuming and choreography that almost made me cringe while I was adjudicating.
Yes.
Look, they don't need to be cutesy. If you don't want cutesy, that's fine. Just don't go completely the other way.
There's so many ways to style a jazz routine to be sassy and girly and cute and all the things for teens without taking it to the place where we would like not to be, which shall not be named.
There is a beautiful way to choreograph maturity. It does not need to go to that length. And even in contemporary, I have seen young dancers, 12 and 13, doing items regarding things like death or
cell
ghosts.
Block tango.
Or, oh gosh, cell block tango is a big one.
Please don't do cell block tango if you're 8 years old. Please don't do that to the dancers. As judges, we really cringe. Because the content is mature, not because you're doing something wrong or choreographing wrong or putting them in the wrong costume. Just the content is too mature. It's about ladies in jail because they kill their husbands. It's not the type of things you want your 8-year-olds to portray.
It's very, we know these musicals. We know where the song is coming from. We know,
And V, I have to say, as a male judge, it is so cringy for us to have to pay attention to an item if you know, I'm not supposed to be looking at this. People are going to think it's weird because I'm looking at this. It's such a cringy situation for a male adjudicator to sit there and sit through some of these things. And, some of the things I have an issue with is not necessarily conscious choices. It's stuff like I was judging at a competition once, and there was this gorgeous contemporary item on stage. Beautiful technique, beautiful lines, fantastic performance quality. But she was a 14, 15-year-old girl wearing a white leotard with no tights underneath, and she was sweating.
Yeah, guys, and stage lights.
It just leaves it. It's just cringy. Just watch out for things like that. Take into consideration what angles you are facing. Number one, take into consideration stage lights. Everything is a little bit more see-through under stage lights.
Like if you're gonna wear white, triple layer that leotard with nude underneath.
Oh my word!
So that we're not seeing all the things,
There's this huge debate about should dancers be wearing flesh-colored tights underneath the leotards or not. And I know there's a plethora of people, especially on the international scale, they feel like, yes, little ones, flesh tights, but as soon as you're 12, 13, you disregard the tights because you're a big girl now. But I feel like when they turn into big girls, that's kind of, now I want to put more tights on them,
Yeah, and also I think we're forgetting these are kids. Are they comfortable? Have you asked them? Stepping on that stage.
Even if they are, there's just some things that should be non-negotiable. Like it's like it reminds me of one of those first episodes of Dance Moms where they were wearing those little itsy bitsy costumes, and Chloe came out and she said, "I feel beautiful in this," and I was like, "I don't care how you feel, get it the hell off." It's like sometimes you need to be the guiding voice for your kid. They might like something that is totally inappropriate. It happens. It's normal. That's how they grow and develop.
Look, I've put senior dancers on stage with what we like to call a contemporary cut in the leotard. So it's not leotard cuts, it's just slightly longer. But we made
a little more booty short type.
Yes, and we made sure with at least three dress rehearsals that they were not moving anywhere. And if they were, we were fixing. We did not get those costumes a day before and just hope and pray nothing was going to go wrong,
Oh my gosh, can we talk about rehearsing in costumes? I feel like this is something that does not happen. They are so scared of dirtying the costumes that no one fully rehearses in the costume. No one puts the costume to the maximum distress. You need to test your costume's limits in a rehearsal before you go on stage, so that you know, doesn't matter what happens on this stage, my top is not going to come loose. This is not going to happen.
Yes.
You know, you need to make sure that whatever costume you're choosing is going to work at the end of the day on stage.
Yeah. And that the dancer's comfortable, that there's nothing happening. Stage lights, back to that
costume
again.
Costume malfunctions
lights.
happen. That's it. It's not a thing. It happens. But if it happens to a kid, you can spare them that embarrassment by just not leaving room for error. Test that costume to the max and make sure there's no way a costume malfunction can happen that could leave your dancer exposed and feeling embarrassed. Also, especially for the little ones, layer that costume. Wear tights underneath your costume. And I'm not talking about thick black leotards that you can see from everywhere and it looks horrendous. I'm talking about small undergarments that cover everything, so that if something happens, you are not completely exposed to an entire auditorium full of adults.
Exactly. That
and
is
you
so
never
true.
know who is seated in that audience. You never know what they are there for, what their intentions are. Unfortunately, we live in an incredibly sick world where people that's seated in the audience could just as well be perverts that's simply there to have a look at kids. It's true. Absolutely.
No, it's true.
I've been involved in situations where, and I'm not gonna name names, but I'm gonna bring light to the situation. I was part of a competition where there was a parent, a lovely dance dad, very much involved. You know, one of those idealistic relationships where I wish my dad was as involved.
Oh yeah.
Turns out he was there for the wrong reasons. He was sitting in the front row taking close-up photos of the girls. You know, and you never know what's going to happen. It's your responsibility to keep your dancers as safe as possible at all times.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's hectic. I did not expect that. Sure. But you don't think of that because you're so busy competing, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing.
You don't think of it.
Teachers who are doing everything, I mean, we know how hectic your lives are. Sometimes we're just not taking everything into consideration, and it happens. Some stuff slips through the cracks, but we need to be prepared for it. That's the one thing
Especially
I'm always very strict on.
Important things like this, stay alert, stay awake, for sure.
Okay, let's pivot the conversation away from the morbid situations, okay? So, we don't want to get too dark.
No, let's not.
So, there's this miscommunication between parents and teachers where I don't necessarily think that the parents understand what these big competitions mean to these teachers and how they actually help. You might just see it as we're going to competitions for our dancers, but your teachers are 100% going to these competitions for networking, to see what's happening in the industry, measure their standard against other network with other teachers, choreographers, adjudicators, build reputation in the competitive industry. And that's how studios know each other. It's simply by networking. And I want to hear your opinion on this, but how does networking at competitions affect teachers?
So there's obviously a positive and a negative. We all know about studio dramas and competitive studios against each other, which is great in networking in the sense of it's sometimes healthy competition, sometimes not, but oh gosh, the stories. But it's brilliant for teachers in the sense of your studio name is honestly getting out there because the judges, the competition owners and organizers, they are becoming familiar with your studio name and want your entries. They will literally look for you to find your entries and become more involved with your studio. I've seen if you're talking about dancers in themselves, not teachers, I've seen dancers receive opportunities purely from competitions such as choreographic pieces, workshops, being pulled in by a choreographer asking them to, shadow their workshop that they're teaching, for example. Networking at competitions is a lot bigger than what people think, and you never know who's sitting in the audience and watching.
Absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people understand that at most of these events, there are people scouting. I mean, the age-old saying is, oh, we're going to get scouted at this and that event. Although it's not as black and white as one might think, 90% of the time, there will be someone in that audience that have opportunities to provide. He's just looking for the right person to provide it to.
Yeah.
Like this year, my company was scouting all the competitions in the country. We scouted 10 kids who got invited to travel to Europe and participate in the Euro Tour. That is something which you cannot qualify for it or receive it any other way other than being scouted. And that falls in 100% into the networking opportunities, because if you were not seen at that competition, you would not have received that opportunity.
That's so true. That is so true. I've judged and seen dancers where I was like, wow, I need to do a choreographic piece with this dancer because they're just exactly what I'm looking for. And it really does happen, like literally, it happens with so many choreographers. You get noticed and you get pulled into things. Half the time I've seen dancers have their career already set for them by the time they're 19.
It's so important to at least be seen.
Yeah.
You like you said, you never know who's in the audience, and also you never know what opportunities can come from that. So the whole idea that's been developed in the last couple of years that, you see these viral TikToks of professional dancers going, I've been a professional dancer for 12 years and I've never won a dance competition. Fantastic. Yeah. Yes. Dance competitions are not a requirement in the industry, but you can get opportunities in the industry from being seen at competitions. So don't give it away as a bad experience. You never know what can come from it.
Yeah, this doesn't mean go do 12 solos to get noticed. Taking it back.
You can get noticed with one solo. You can get noticed
Absolutely.
I've had situations where I had a group piece in front of me, and I just couldn't stop looking at the left back corner because the dancer that was in that left back corner was just phenomenal. So it's not just about how many times the judges see you. They only need to see you for 20 seconds and they're hooked.
No, definitely. In terms of networking for teachers and things like that, obviously it's a great way for them to get more students to their studio. But it's amazing for the studio name, especially if you're putting out dancers that are good quality. Again, teachers, don't put out 50 million items that are at a low level. Put out items that are solid. You don't need 50 of them. And your studio name and your name as an instructor gets out there so fast.
Yeah, I do have to mention, and this is something that we will definitely be going deeper into in the next episode, but a lot of these competitions reward teachers for quantity above quality. That's definitely a thing that happens, and that is why some of these teachers enter 50 items, 60 items into a competition, a single day competition, because it's encouraged like that.
That is definitely something to talk about.
Something we will talk about in the next episode.
All right, guys. Well, we really, truly hope we gave you as much information as we could regarding prepping for your competition year ahead, 2026. If you do have any questions, concerns, anything we didn't cover, we are so open to hearing from you. Please pop us a DM at Dance Decoded Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you, and we can't wait for the next episode. We will see you soon, and this is Dance Decoded.
Dance Decoded.